They live in the drains, and in the walls too, I think. Their beady eyes watch me hungrily without rest. I call them biters. When I told my mom and dad, they didn't believe me. My dad just said, "Go to bed, Tim. You're too old to be playing pretend." I don't know why nobody else notices them, but I think something attracts them to me, because they won't leave me alone. Whenever I'm not paying attention, one of them will try and eat a piece of me. Nowhere is safe. They're only a few inches tall, but they can eat anything. Once, I happened to look out the window and saw a group of them come out of the sewer and eat my neighbor's cat. After less than a minute, there was nothing left of Jingles. Our neighbor put up missing posters, but I never said anything because I know they wouldn't believe me. Biters don't talk or make much noise other than the skittering of their 6 disgusting limbs as their spider-like bodies retreat from my peripheral vision. Gleaming white eyes peer out from the shadows and dark places, patiently awaiting the next meal. I haven't been sleeping lately. If I do fall asleep, they're going to eat me. More of them are watching me, and they're getting more aggressive. A couple days ago, I was taking a shower. The warm, calming water running over my skin lulled me into a false sense of security. Lost deep in thought, I carelessly shifted my position and stood on the drain. Without any warning, one of them slipped through the grate and bit off half my pinky toe. Echoing within the shower was a sickening snap that ripped me from my daydream, followed by a searing, mind-melting pain. By the time I looked down, the biter had retreated back into the drain, and my bloody stump of a toe spotted scarlet. As my vital fluid mixed with water and spiraled down the drain in a pink, diluted blend, I stared in disbelief, frozen in shock. More and more eyes appeared in the drain, peeking up at me hungrily from the confined dark. I think I blacked out after that, because that was the last thing I remember. When I woke up in the hospital, my mom told me that I must have gotten my toe stuck in the drain and ripped a piece of it off. Afterwards, she said, I slipped and fell through the thin glass shower door, causing lacerations to my chest and arms. When my parents found me, naked and bleeding all over the floor, they wrapped me in a blanket and rushed me to the emergency room. They didn't even think to clean up the blood. How many more biters will come? They'll know where to find me, what I smell like, what I taste like. Having suffered no serious head trauma or nerve damage, I was discharged and my parents took me home. It was just as I feared. Actually, it was worse. I can see shining white eyes in all the dark recesses of our home. Not daring to step or venture into the shadows, I've mapped out safe paths through the halls and rooms. Suspecting something is wrong, my parents have been paying more attention to me and asking a lot of questions. I need to be more careful. I need to avoid them. They don't see what I see. They won't understand. So reckless. A biter almost got me. Foolishly, I grabbed an orange juice carton from the fridge, and twisting off the cap, I raised it towards my mouth. As it almost touched my lips, I noticed 2 chalky white orbs reflecting out at me from the depth of the container. In a reaction of self-preservation, I immediately flung the carton away. Spinning as it slid, and spewing orange juice all over the floor, it stopped, stuck under a cabinet. A light skittering trailed out, leading to under the sink and away. That little bastard was gonna devour me from the inside. They're getting clever. If only I'd have held on to the orange juice container. Then I would have had proof. Somebody help me. It's getting so much worse. I really had to go to the bathroom, so I navigated my way down the hall, taking careful, deliberate steps. When I reached the toilet and raised the lid, there in the bottom, carnivorous eyes waiting for me to sit down, waiting to eat me. Now I have to do my business outside, and only in the daytime. I can't go anywhere in the dark, nor can I turn off the lights at night, or they'll get me. Obviously, I'm not going to the shower again, and I saw one of their legs sticking out of the faucet when I went to get water. They think I'll mess up and let them get me, but I know all the places to avoid, all the places they hide, like in my clean clothes, and all the recesses of my closet and dresser, under the bed and in my backpack, in the fridge and freezer when the lights turn off. They wait for me in every dark place, but I won't let them eat any more of me. A loud knock at the front door rang out through the house. Timothy's parents opened the door and ushered a man into the living room. "Please, have a seat, Frank. Thank you so much for coming. Can I get you anything?"
"No, thank you,"
Frank replied.
I know as parents this must be a very difficult decision to make, but Dr. Robinson filled me in. This is very serious. I fear your son desperately needs help.
Cautiously, choosing his steps, Tim gingerly walked into the room. What's going on?" he nervously asked.
"Tim, come sit with us,"
Frank said calmly as he patted the couch.
"Your parents are very worried about you."
"Mom? Dad?" Distraught, Tim looked back and forth from his mother, who was sobbing with her face buried in her hands, and his father, who silently held his gaze with watery eyes. Finally, Tim fixed a stare on the stranger, dressed in an all-white uniform. You don't understand. You can't do this. They'll eat me. I don't want to die. I just...
"Now, son, don't make this any harder than it needs to be,"
Frank interrupted.
"We all just want the best for you, and you need help."
Knowing that his fate had already been determined, Tim flew into an unconsolable frenzy. Frank pulled the radio from his belt and called in 2 more orderlies. As Tim's parents held each other and cried, 3 large men carried the kicking and screaming boy out of the house as gently as they could and strapped him in the back of a van. The ride to the nearby full-time care facility was not long. Upon arrival, the men escorted Tim to the isolation wing, where they informed him he would stay for 48 hours until observation and risk assessment was complete. Seeing all the shadowed areas and dark spaces, Tim became hysterical as the men now had to drag him to his room at the end of the hall. Pulling out a syringe, one of the men quickly injected him with a sedative. Feeling the drug's warm presence in his veins, it acted almost immediately, robbing his limbs of strength. Placing Tim gently on the bed, 2 of the men exited his room while the 3rd placed a hand on his shoulder and told him that everything was going to be alright before leaving as well. With a finality, the door latched shut, impossible to be opened from the inside even if Tim were able to stand. Looking around the white padded room that contained nothing but a bed he was laid on, Tim's eyes caught on an air vent high up on the wall. In its dark reaches, pairs of white luminous eyes were expectantly fixed on him. A man's voice carried down the hall outside Tim's room.
5 minutes, lights out!
Desperately trying to move or scream or anything that would somehow help him escape, Tim's body refused its commands. As the lights flipped off, one by one, the darkness closed in upon him. Unable to move, tears rolled down his face as the shadows enveloped his room.
Hello, mortals. The disciple here. We meet again. Or perhaps for the first time. I don't know. I can't keep track of all you people. There's so many of you walking around and driving your fucking cars. Like, it's 3 a.m. and I'm hungry and I want to go get some food, but nothing's open except for Jack in the Box. Because they stay open late and they're right by my house. So I go to Jack in the Box and here's some old lady driving her fucking car at 2 miles an hour. Are you kidding me? Move! What were we talking about? Oh, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video I made to terrify you and feed off your fear, to gain power and take over the underworld or whatever. Anyways, throw a like, subscribe, or as always, whatever the fuck you want.